The no-tech survival game The Arena was silent, not because there was peace, no, it was the silence of tension. 30 alien species had gathered from across the galaxy to compete in the HFY trials, a brutal survival game designed to test raw instinct. This year, for the first time, humans were invited, but the rules had changed. No weapons. No machines. No advanced tools, everything had to be done with what the environment gave: wood, rocks, vines, and hands. Some species protested. Others laughed. But the council said the humans would be at a disadvantage anyway. They rely too much on tech, they said. The humans didn't argue. They just nodded and stepped into the jungle. Lena was the first human to move. Tall, lean, quiet, she didn't speak. She listened. Her team had 4 others: Mark, heavy-built and quiet; Tara, sharp-eyed and alert; Juno, small but fast; and their last member, Ray, known only for his traps. Around them were swamps, trees with silver bark, and predator sounds in the air. Other species scattered in all directions, some flying, some slithering, others stomping with armored feet. The humans stayed low. On day 1, the other species rushed to claim territory. The Clivax, with razor claws. The Mortar, with massive arms. Even the silent Makari, who blended into shadows. They all thought speed was the key, but the humans didn't run. Instead, they observed. They watched the animals, studied the land, and mapped in silence. They used sticks to check for traps, mud to hide scents, and vines to craft basic tools. That night, while most were still setting up shelter, Ray dug shallow pits, lined them with spikes made from broken branches, and covered them with leaves. Then they waited. The first victim wasn't a predator, it was a crawl beast, 4-legged and armored. It stepped into one of the traps and let out a cry of rage and pain. The noise echoed across the jungle. Most watched from afar, but Lena. She ran toward the sound. She didn't hesitate. She climbed the beast, used a sharpened bone to stab it in the neck, and ended it. She returned dragging its meat. The aliens watching from their high-tech orbiting station were shocked. They should be panicking, said one. They should be starving, said another. Instead, the humans were eating well. No tech. Just sticks, traps, and fury. The Mortar tried to attack the human camp the next day. They never returned. All that was found were vines hanging from trees, twisted around broken bones, and a simple message burned into a log near the center: we are still human. Even here. The jungle grew darker as clouds rolled in. Rain began to fall, washing away scent trails and making the ground soft and dangerous. For most species, it was a threat. But for the humans, it was a gift. Ray smiled as the mud made his traps harder to detect. He covered another pit with soaked leaves and broken bark. The others moved silently around him. Lena sharpened sticks into spears. Mark tied thorny vines to trees at neck height. Juno climbed trees, scouting paths. They worked like they had done it 100 times before, because they had. By day 3, the jungle was no longer wild. It was human territory. The alien teams, once confident, were growing nervous. The Grovlax, 8-legged and armored, were loud and proud. They stormed through the jungle thinking strength alone would win. But they never noticed the narrow pits. 2 of them fell, impaled on sharpened stakes. The third tried to climb out, but a large branch swung down from above and crushed its head. The trap had no metal, no power, only simple tools and human rage behind it. From the observation station, alien commanders watched the footage. They were silent. Then whispers began: primitive savagery, no honor. But deep inside, they felt something else: fear. Inside the jungle, the humans didn't sleep all at once. They took turns. Always alert. Always watching. Lena barely spoke. She didn't need to. She understood something that most aliens didn't. Survival wasn't about strength or speed. It was about control. That night, they heard movement, not an animal. Too quiet. Too careful. Mark tapped the others. They waited in silence, then, snap. A small wire of vines pulled tight. A scream echoed in the dark. A Lekri warrior, nearly invisible, was dragged up into the trees, his own limbs tangled in thorns. The trap was simple, but it worked. By day 4, only 8 alien teams were left. Most of them stayed hidden, avoiding the humans. They thought they could wait out the trial. Let others fight and fall, but food was running out, and the jungle belonged to Earth now. That morning, Tara found something strange: a large totem built from bones, sticks, and feathers. It wasn't human. It was a warning, the Zaan had claimed. A section of the jungle, marking it with symbols. Juno looked at the totem, then at Lena. We burn it. She asked. Lena nodded once. The message was clear. No1 claimed Earth's territory. The fire burned hot and fast. Zan scouts arrived to see their mark turn to ash. They launched an attack, but they didn't know the terrain. They didn't know the traps. They didn't know that humans don't wait to be attacked. Lena and Mark led the counter. No lasers. No shields, just spears, knives made of bone, and minds trained by thousands of years of war on Earth. By the end of the fight, 3 Zan lay dead, the rest ran, and the humans didn't chase. They didn't need to. The jungle would do the rest. In orbit, the alien commanders watched in silence. Then one voice finally spoke. What are they? A reply came softly. Death Welders. *, the jungle had changed. It no longer belonged to the trees or the beasts. It no longer echoed with the cries of confused predators. Now, it was quiet, watchful. The remaining alien teams had stopped hunting. They were hiding, moving in small groups, jumping at every sound, because every sound could be them. The humans. Lena's group had no fancy gear. Their clothes were ripped. Their arms were bruised. Their feet bled from the sharp jungle floor, but their eyes were calm. Tara whispered. 5 teams left. Ray nodded, tying another net of vines. We won't need to fight all of them. Just enough to break the rest. Mark was sharpening bones. Juno was up in the trees again. She moved like a ghost now. The jungle, once unfamiliar, was part of her. A roar shook the forest. Something big. Something angry. The alien command station locked onto the sound. It was a Krell beast, 12 feet tall, armored head to toe, summoned by the jungle's natural cycles. Every species knew to avoid it. The cameras zoomed in, but instead of running, the humans were approaching. Lena stood just outside the beast's territory, holding a torch. She didn't plan to kill it, she planned to use it. Ray had seen the beast's path. Juno mapped its habits. Tara dug the pit. Mark built the spikes. Together, they shaped the land itself. The Krell smelled blood and heat. It charged and dropped straight into the pit. It thrashed, screamed, and snapped the trap's edges. Then silence. The humans had just taken down a jungle king with wood, mud, and bone. They didn't celebrate. They butchered it cleanly, took its armor, and disappeared back into the trees. But the other species saw it, from shadows, from treetops, from underground burrows. They saw what the humans had done, and they were afraid. 1 alien team, the Telari, tried to leave the jungle. They signaled for surrender. They wanted out, but the rules were clear. Only one winner. No escape. So they waited on a hill, hoping the humans would let them live. That night, the hill was set on fire. The humans didn't strike with weapons. They used smoke, wind, and fear. By morning, the Telari were gone. The jungle was no longer a challenge. It was a test, and humans were the ones grading it. Up in the station, the alien council was in disarray. This was supposed to be fair. They are using no tech. They are using tactics. They are using terror. One of the generals spoke in a low voice. They are playing the game as written. And they are winning. Another added, not with strength. Not with tools. With fury. With memory. Back in the jungle, Juno returned from a silent scout. 2 teams left, she said quietly. Mark asked, do we go after them? Lena didn't answer. She just pointed to the trees. Let them come, let them panic, let the jungle do what humans had taught it. Fear the stick. Fear the trap. Fear the fire. The last 2 alien teams were not weak. 1 was the Drakari, cold-skinned hunters from a frozen world. They had sharp claws and moved without sound. The other was the Gel, small and fast, with hard scales and bright red eyes. Both had once seen humans as easy prey. Now, they moved only at night. They avoided open paths. They ate moss and leaves in fear of human ambush. But it was too late. The jungle now whispered human. Mark stood near a shallow stream, watching the water. He didn't move when a long shadow passed nearby. He waited. Then waited more. Finally, a Gel scout stepped out of hiding. Quick. Light. Fast. It stepped near the stream, snapped. A vine trap wrapped its leg. Mark pulled hard. The alien flipped into the water and was gone beneath the surface. Taro emerged from behind a bush, face covered in mud. That's 2 Gel scouts down. Ray grinned. They are running out of runners. Meanwhile, Lena crouched on a high branch, watching the Drakkara. 3 of them had set up camp near a broken tree. They didn't know humans were watching. They still believed in their stealth. They didn't know their scent had already been marked. They didn't know 3 humans had encircled them until the first one screamed. A sharp stick from above dropped directly into its back at the other 2. Jumped, but it didn't matter. Juno dropped from a branch like a wildcat and slashed one with a sharpened bone knife. The third ran, but found a wall of thorns waiting. Silence. Then Lena whispered, "Only the gel left." Ray chuckled. "They are already dead. They just don't know it yet." In orbit, the alien council was frozen. We gave them the hardest terrain. We stripped them of tools. We gave every species a fair chance. A quiet voice replied, "You gave them a jungle. They came from jungles. You took their machines. They made new ones with dirt and rage. They are not survivors, they are conquerors." Back in the forest, the gel had gathered in one place. 6 of them. Tired. Bleeding. Hungry. 1 screamed at the trees, "We surrender. Let us out." But the jungle didn't answer, only wind, only rustling leaves, only fear. Then one by one, the traps triggered, smoke poured in. The fire climbed trees. Nets dropped from the dark. Pits opened beneath their feet. Screams echoed through the night. 1 gel remained, crawling. Crying. It looked up. Lena stood above him, muddy face. Blood on her hands. Fire in her eyes. She didn't strike, she just whispered, "Run." The gel bolted into the trees, straight into a wall of thorns. By morning, no one stood against the humans. The jungle was theirs. No machines. No tech, only hands, minds, and fury. The council watched the end. 1 leaned forward and whispered, "And the trial?" Another replied, "We can't." A third asked, "Why?" The answer came slowly, "Because they didn't just survive. They tamed it." Smoke rose above the jungle as the last fire died. The birds had stopped singing. The predators were gone. Even the wind was quiet, as if the land itself feared what had just happened. At the center of it all, 5 humans stood under a massive tree, dirty, blooded, silent. They didn't smile. They didn't cheer. Victory meant nothing here. Tara knelt near the remains of their last trap. "No more threats," she said softly. Ray checked the line of sharpened bones still strung between 2 trees. "They are all gone." Juno dropped from a high branch, landing with a grunt. No movement. 4 hours. Mark just nodded. He looked at Lena, who stood with her hands clenched. "We've done enough." Lena didn't reply. She was listening. To the silence, and to the sound of their own breathing. Above, the council argued, "They completed the trial." One said, "They broke its spirit." Another whispered, "This wasn't survival." A third muttered, "It was domination." What did we invite into this galaxy? No one had an answer. A small shuttle descended from the clouds, quiet and slow. It landed in a nearby clearing, sent from the council to collect the human team. The doors opened, steam hissing out. No celebration. No welcoming party. Only one old alien stood there with a trembling pad in his hands. He was supposed to declare the humans as winners. Instead, he asked, "How?" Ray just shrugged. "We grew up in worse places." Mark added, "We didn't fight the jungle. We became part of it." Juno looked at him. "And we remembered one thing." Tara nodded. "It's not about strength." Lena stepped forward, finishing it. "It's about how far we are willing to go." The alien lowered his pad. "You could have shown mercy." Ray looked him in the eye. "Mercy isn't part of survival." In the days that followed, footage of the trial spread across the galaxy. Millions watched in silence as traps snapped, as fires roared, as screams echoed through the trees. Everyone had expected humans to die early. Instead, they had turned the wild into a war zone. On distant worlds, alien generals rewatched the same moments over and over. How humans moved without sound, how they turned the land into a weapon, how they hunted the hunters. It was terrifying, but it was real. On the homeworld of the Klivax, schools removed footage of the trial. On the ice moons of the Drakkari, Young warriors stopped boasting about strength, even the proud Zan refused to speak of that year's trials, because the message was clear: you do not take away human tools and expect them to stop fighting, you only take away the easy part. Back on Earth, the five returned to silence. No parades. No trophies, only quiet respect from those who understood what it meant to survive with nothing but will and rage. They didn't go on interviews, they didn't tell stories, because they didn't need to. The galaxy was already speaking their names, with fear. Weeks passed, the jungle regrew where the fires had burned. The vines covered old traps. The trees stood tall once more. But the memory of what happened during the trial remained etched into every corner of the alien world. Some said the jungle was cursed now, others whispered it had become Earth's second home. No alien team had dared return. Up in orbit, the council met in silence. A recording of the human trial played again before them. Lena's final words echoed in the chamber: it's about how far we are willing to go. No one interrupted. No one laughed. This time, no one smiled. The Drakara general finally spoke: we invited them thinking they were soft. The Lekri ambassador added: we forgot they came from death. From storms. From predators. An elder Telari shook his head. They are not just survivors. They make war with the land itself. The Mortar, one of the oldest species in the galaxy, stood and whispered, let this be our last trial. But it wasn't the end. Other species had watched, not just soldiers or leaders, but scientists, scholars, rebels, and hunters. Many were curious: how could a species with no tech defeat monsters with claws, armor, and shadow skin? A new question spread across the galaxy: what would they do if we pushed them again? Back on Earth, Ray sat near a small fire in the mountains, staring into the flames. A group of young recruits surrounded him, new defense trainees. One boy asked, how did you win, sir? With no tech. Ray tossed a dry stick into the fire. We didn't win because of what we had. Another asked, then what? Ray looked at the flames. We won because we remembered. Remembered what? He turned to them. That before cities, before ships, before machines, we hunted with fire, sticks, and fury. Lena had returned to a quiet forest, living far from cities. She didn't like noise anymore. Not after the jungle, but sometimes, when the wind blew, she closed her eyes and listened, and the jungle came back. Not the pain. Not the traps, the focus, the stillness, the feeling of being one with the land. Juno worked with a special training unit. Now, her job wasn't to teach weapons. It was to teach thinking. Know your terrain, she said. Know your prey. And most of all, know what you're willing to lose. They listened, because she had once turned a forest into a graveyard, with vines and broken branches. Across the stars, alien species rewrote their military plans. Some removed humans from war simulations, others studied their ancient history. Wars fought with swords, arrows, fists, and fire. They realized something terrifying: even without tools, even stripped of everything, humans remain dangerous. The next year, the council voted to cancel the HFY trials. No public reason was given, but everyone knew why. They feared that if humans returned, they might not stop with victory. A year passed. The HFY trials were never held again. The arena planet was marked as restricted territory. No ships were allowed to land. The council placed warning buoys in orbit. Satellites were shut down. Maps stopped showing its name. But the jungle remained, and it remembered. A quiet wind blew through the trees, vines covered the old traps now. Bones from past challenges still lay hidden beneath leaves. Broken branches, sharpened sticks, and burnt-out pits told a story the jungle would never forget. But the strangest part: no predators came back. No creatures nested. Even animals knew something terrible had walked there. Far away on a neutral moon, a meeting was held, not between generals, not between politicians, but between those who had witnessed what humans were capable of. Alien veterans, former trial survivors, and spies who had once laughed at Earth. They gathered in secret and asked one question: if they could do that with nothing, what would they do with everything? A hologram flickered in the center of the room. It showed Earth's battleships, Earth's marines, Earth's history, the wars fought across deserts, mountains, cities, oceans. No other species had survived so many disasters. No other kind had grown stronger from pain. A grizzled Zan fighter growled, they don't need machines. A Drakari elder replied, they become the weapon. A Lekri scout shivered. They didn't adapt to the jungle. The jungle adapted to them. On Earth, Lena stood atop a mountain trail overlooking a vast valley. She wasn't part of any military now. But sometimes they sent her messages, reports, observations, warnings. Someone, somewhere, had tried to test humanity again. Another species had launched a war simulation. No tech allowed. It ended in 3 days. The humans hadn't just won, they rewrote the rules. Again, Lena closed the message and looked to the sky. The stars blinked above her. Peace never lasted forever, and some out there still believed humans were weak without their machines. They would learn again. Elsewhere, Ray walked through a training field with new recruits. Each one held nothing but a stick. No armor. No support. One girl asked, "Are we really supposed to win with just this?" Ray stopped. Smiled. "Not just that," he said. "You've got the land. You've got your mind. And you've got one more thing." She blinked. "What's that?" He answered, "You're human." In alien academies, human tactics became required study. In alien nightmares, the jungle trial returned again and again. No lasers. No bombs, just sticks, traps, and fury. Some said Earth should never have been invited to the stars. Others said it was already too late, because no matter how far humanity traveled, no matter what rules were made, you could not unlearn what they showed the galaxy. You can strip a human of tools. You can ban their tech. But you can't take away what makes them dangerous. They don't stop, they don't surrender, they become the storm. Star.